Hello, welcome to Buzzing with Cousin Johnny here. How's everybody doing out there? We got a great show planned. Before I introduce our guest, I'd like to shout out to all these courageous firefighters out there with this Big Sur, Palo, Colorado fire that's going on right now. We're praying for the people that have been evacuated and hopefully they're going to get this thing all back under control. So let's pray for these people and hope everything's going to be okay for them. So before, let's go ahead and get this show started. My guest here is a local gentleman. He's a musician, he's a songwriter, and he's a creator and founder of the popular Monterey band Red Beans and Rice. Please welcome Gil Rubio. Hi, Gil.
Hey Johnny, how you doing?
Welcome to the show. How you doing?
Very good, thank you. And I got to tell you, it's an honor to be here. So I appreciate your invitation, and always a pleasure to see you, Johnny.
Always a pleasure to see you too. This is great. First of all, I'd like to thank the Rubio family for what you have done in your family has done in the community for all these years, and we'd like to pay tribute to your brother, the late Honorable Ralph Rubio, for all he did with the city of Seaside and the Monterey Peninsula. So we thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
He was certainly well accomplished, and he did a lot. And I know my mom, I know my dad would have been very proud of him. I know my mom was as well.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Johnny. I appreciate that.
Thank you. So, Gil, you're local. Where did you grow up?
Right here. Believe it or not, I'm actually a native. There's not many of us, but I was actually born.
We got one right here too.
Yeah, see, you know what I'm saying. As a matter of fact, I was thinking about it, Johnny. I was going, I don't even know how long I've known you because growing up here on the peninsula and stuff, and we rode paths across each other all this time. And probably the closest where we really started getting a lot closer was at KZU, I think. But in any case, yes, I was born right here on the Monterey Peninsula in Monterey, and the old Monterey Hospital, which was across from the post office in Monterey. So all three of us were born there in that building. When you first went in those big arch doors, it was the maternity ward was over to the left. So all three of us were born there. So
and so was I.
Yeah, so, all of us natives probably were born right there.
A lot of people don't know that, but across the street from the post office on Hartnell, that was the old Monterey Hospital.
Yeah, then it became Chomp. Then it became Eschaton. And then I don't even know what it is now. It's a bunch of office buildings, I guess. I don't know.
At Chomp right now. Yeah.
So,
Gil, so when did you start picking up the guitar and start playing and writing songs? I mean, when did that happen?
Well, my grandfather was a musician. My mom's dad, he had a lot of instruments, and he played with a few of his brothers in kind of I guess you could say an orchestra, an orchestra. And so he had a handmade guitar. He had a bowlback mandolin. He played violin. He played recorder. He played harmonica. He had a cornet. He played piano.
Wow.
And all this stuff. And so growing up, we always heard a lot of music in our house, the old Mexican radio and stuff. And then my aunts and uncles, a couple of them lived with us. So we heard a lot of different kinds of music growing up. But my grandfather's guitar was in the house after he had passed away. And so I started tinkering around with it. But Ralph actually had some friends that had a band. And so he's, got kind of inspired and bought one of those funky little like pawn shop type guitars that are really unplayable. And he brought it home and was trying to play guitar. So he got me inspired with it too. So I started playing, and he kind of dropped off, but he saw that I was still interested. So he bought me a couple of books, like music books too. Like I think one of the ones he bought me was for Neil Young Harvest.
Oh God,
and
yeah,
stuff
nice.
like that. And stuff like that. So I started learning that way. But he actually showed me the first song I ever learned, which was Can't Find My Way Home from Blind Faith. And so I just started, expanding on that and growing from there. But yeah, there was a lot of instruments around the house and stuff. So I always just tinker around with them.
Nice. That's nice. And then you started writing songs and
Yeah. I had a partner, John Brown, and I kind of grew up together. He was a black guy. He was basically, I think, raised in Davis and then moved here. We met probably in I think the 7th or 8th grade, something like that. And he played a little bit of guitar, and I did too. So we started playing guitars together, and we learned a lot from each other. And we played a lot of Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young type stuff. We played blues, and we played all these other things. But I started writing, like, I guess you could say, poems in maybe like the 7th grade or something like
yeah,
that, and started actually putting music to them and stuff. I started playing guitar when I was 14. And so I had started writing kind of like poems a little before that. And so just started putting them together and see if it could make some sense. It was mainly just for self-expression more than anything. But then I started trying to get into learning actually how to make songs, as far as arrangement and things like that. So that's kind of what it grew out of. So
yeah. Then you played on bands in around the Monterey Peninsula. Did you play in a few bands?
oh yeah, they were kind of just like little band things in Seaside and stuff. We used to do a lot of jamming and kind of garage jams and stuff like that. And then a couple of different bands. There was Mantis. We played kind of like the Commodores and Earth, Wind and
Oh
Fire,
yeah,
stuff like
okay.
that. And a couple of guys I met down here in Seaside too. Curtis Ware. He was actually from North Carolina, I think. He played about 16 instruments. But so used to play in bands like that, just kind of not really out and playing in clubs and stuff, but just kind of for parties and things like that, here in Seaside and stuff. And a lot of times I was the only person who wasn't black in the band. One of the legends around the Bay Area at the time was Terry Berry, who played in a band called Slaughter and stuff, and they went on tour with Tower Power, and went all the way up and down the West Coast here. And he christened me a chikun. But I learned a lot from him in terms of dynamics and
Beautiful.
lay
Yeah.
back and just he was such a great friend, and we had a great time playing together. So I played with him for several years, and so I learned a lot, about dynamics and just when to bring it down, how to bring it down, and wow, just amazing feel for music. Matter of fact, he was a drummer, but he
Yeah.
sang background vocals and played trombone too. But what he used to do, we used to play this game in one of our bands that we were in, that he would play the drum beat to a certain song, and it was kind of like name that tune with just the drum beat. But he was so musical in his drumming that you could tell what song he was playing.
Wow.
It was
Really
amazing. Yeah,
great.
it was amazing. So I learned a lot from him, and I'm really very much thankful for his tutelage. So
Now in 1993, if I got the date right, you created Red Beans and Rice. Is that the
yes,
right date?
yeah. August 4th, 1993 was our debut at the Monterey Brewing Company in Monterey, when it was on right next to Oscar Hassenfelder's and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
merry-go-round. Yeah.
And that, I mean, so you've Red Beans and Rice has been together almost 30 years. I mean, the band has been 30. Wow,
It's almost half of my life.
that's
So
great. How did
yeah.
you come up with the name?
Well, I was actually playing with Alligator at the time, and
Hey,
Alligator is from Louisiana, and I was really enjoying playing in his band. And the way the band started was I was on KZU. Um, I joined in 1990 and went for 12 years on KZU. But one of my friends there, Sherman Lee Davis, had a blues show on the same day as my show on Fridays. And then he had started a blues jam at the Monterey Brewing Company. So we were kind of going down there all the time every Sunday and having these jams. But I was playing in Alligator's band at the time too. So somebody told me that all the songs that you write, Gil, always have an element of blues in them. And I
Yeah.
said, hmm.
Yeah.
I said, okay, I kind of see that. So with all the influences I've had over my life, Latin music and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, hard rock and stuff. Ralph was bringing home hard rock when it first came out, and my aunts and uncles, like I said, used to live with us, so we heard all the oldies, everything, all straight through Motown, everything. We just heard the evolution of music in our house, so it was really neat. And I pulled from all of that. But once again, this one person told me, he said, "You always have an element of blues in your music." So I said, "Wow, that's kind of interesting." So when I started going to the blues jams and stuff, I thought, maybe because I was writing tunes and I was starting to see the blues influence. So I said, maybe I'll start a band around this. So I kind of did these recordings with a drummer and a bass player. Jason McIntosh was the original drummer in Red Beans and Rice. So it was him and Gary Struthers on bass. And we did a little project for one of the other DJs at KZU. He wanted to play a couple songs for his girlfriend is what it was. So we did like these blues backing for him. And then so that's when I met Jason and Gary. So I said, hey, would you guys be interested in doing this little project? So we recorded these songs that I wrote. And then I had a singer come in and sing. They had never met. And that was Big Steve. Who I'd met through the blues jams. So that was kind of the start of Red Beans and Rice.
Wow.
A rhythm section that had never met the singer. So
well, you can't knock success. I mean, yeah.
It worked, man. Big Steve was great. He was from Mississippi and he had a style and sound that was like a howling wolf, who was one of my heroes. So it just fit together really well. So we started building a group around that, and I asked Sherman to come in and play second guitar and stuff, and then we had a harmonica player, and so got a keyboard player, got up to 7 people on our debut. So it was fun. And apparently we've, as we were talking about previously, that we've gone through a lot of changes, but we've managed to keep it, still going forward. So
over the years, listening to the band, I love the band. It's like with a little bit of transition with a couple of personnel in and out, that you guys just kept going and just going with the flow. And
yeah, and there was the thing is that when we started, it was kind of with Big Steve, it had a lot of Chicago and kind of almost a little Delta influence too. The classic blues like Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf.
Yeah.
But songs I was writing were obviously a little more contemporary and stuff. So we actually were, the harmonica player at the time, Mike Vernon, had entered us into a JJ's blues band search, which we knew nothing about. All of a sudden he says, hey, we're in this blues band search. We're like, what?
Yeah.
So we had to go up to San Jose and play.
Oh, at JJ's.
Yeah, at JJ's. And so we played this contest and so there was like 3 or 4 other bands. We played and we went home, and we get a call the next day. Hey, you won that round. And we're like, okay, cool. So they said, now you got to come back next week. So we're like, okay. So we went back again.
Yeah.
So we played, we went home. We get a call the next day. Hey, you guys won a round again. You guys are in the semifinals. We're like, okay. So but this went like 4 times. So we landed up in the finals and we won. And we beat out like 50 other bands from all over Northern California. Great. And so we got some recording time and a plaque and all this other stuff. So at the Music Annex, we got this recording time. So my recording mentor, Tim Culbertson, was really well connected with the Music Annex. So he hooked me up with some other additional time. And what we did in the meantime was we were playing at Doc Ricketts a lot. So Larry Vialis, the great sound man down there, was kind enough to help us out and record board mixes and stuff. So what we did was we started selling cassette tapes at the time of
Yeah.
the band recordings from the board at Doc Cricket's Live, right? So we built up enough money to go in and record basically our first CD at the Music Annex. So, and it was like a 16-hour just basically live session, and that was our first CD. So
And you have, is there 7 CDs total, right?
yes, yes, we've put out 7 CDs now. The sixth one was actually an anniversary CD. So it was called 13 from 20 and 5, which everybody goes, what the heck does that mean? But it was 13, 13 originals
Yeah.
from 20 years and 5 CDs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was kind of cool. So,
Maybe I'll,
and what I did was I took the tunes from the 5 CDs and I didn't change. I mean, chronologically, they were in the order of the way
yeah.
they appeared on the CDs. So it just worked up with this nice progression of music. It was actually really, I was kind of real pleased with the way that came out. And so then the seventh one that we did was with Jesse on vocals, and we did, what is there? There's 12 songs on there, and actually 13.
Yeah.
I'm losing my mind. There's 13 songs, and then 8 of them were original.
Wow.
So
Great. Yeah.
yeah, so it was good. We really enjoyed it.
I mean, congratulations on, being the what is it, the Monterey Weekly Band of the Year 16 times.
Yeah,
16 times.
yeah.
Congratulations on that, you know.
Best local band. The first 11 years were 11 years in a row.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and the voting has changed. Obviously, back then it was all just people voting, and so we had no idea. We just kept getting these awards. Like, wow, this is cool. Well, 11 years in a row. And then obviously they, dare I say, I guess they got kind of tired of counting votes, so they started changing the way it happens. So it got a little more like you had to solicit votes and stuff.
Yeah.
So. But,
Yep.
of course, we don't play like we used to either. Back then, in those days, we were playing 3 or 4 times a week,
Yeah.
and everywhere
Right.
from San Francisco we went down to LA a couple of times too. We played Reno, Tahoe, played in Portland, Oregon. We were playing all over the place. And obviously, with the crash of the economy, things changed a lot too. So everybody pulled back in. So it was a very different world than it was 30 years ago. So.
And Gil, you also received the band award from the Senate. Bill Moaning in the Senate. You got an award.
Yeah, that was a tremendous surprise.
I believe it is.
Yeah, Bill Monning sent me a certificate of recognition from the California State Senate.
That is really great. Yeah.
And it was for our 20th anniversary. And the thing is, he signed it on my birthday of that year. So it was like, wow, he had called me and told me, he goes, hey, I'm sending you something in the mail. And I'm like, okay. But
Yeah.
he told me what it was. And I was just like, wow. I mean, I was really surprised and honored.
You guys deserve it. I'll tell you. You guys.
Oh, well, thank you, Johnny. That's very, very kind of you.
You played at the Jazz Festival, the longest running jazz festival of all time.
Yeah.
And played there at the Jazz. You played.
Yeah, we were invited guests, and that was in itself pretty tremendous too. I was in 2003, and we were invited guests because they had kind of a New Orleans theme for that year.
Yeah, great.
So we played on a stage with John Cleary and the Preservation Hall Jazz Band.
Oh.
And, yeah, it was. And the thing is that we played. And we had to bring a bunch of CDs because they sell them at Tower Records tent, right?
Yeah.
So we got over 100 CDs with this. That's what they told us to bring. So we were in our performance mode. We did our mode, and then we got a standing ovation. at the jazz festival.
Oh, that's
So it's like, wow, it was
coming from all over the world.
it was really tremendous. And then they tell us, okay, so we're just like, we're like, wow, did you see that? Wow, hey, wow, we just played the jazz, but wow, we got a standing ovation. We're
Yes.
backstage over here trying to put our stuff away. And they say, okay, you guys got to get over to the tower booth. I'm like, well, what? So you got to get over there to sign autographs and stuff. We're like, what? So they pulled us over there, and then so now we're standing there. These people are lined up at the table already to get autographs. So we're going, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah.
But we sold over 100 CDs
Wow.
in like 15 minutes. I mean, who knew? We're just some guys having fun.
Just having a good time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Go with
it
the
was great.
flow.
It was
Also,
great.
blues festival. You played at a few blues festivals.
Oh yeah, we did a number of them here at the Monterey Bay Blues Festival. We played in the Valley in okay, I'm trying to remember where it was. It was in the Central Valley. We've played we've played a number of blues festivals up and down the coast, basically, and yeah, they've all been really great. One of the
Blues
things
on
that
the
we
Park.
really enjoyed too is when we played in Portland. We played at like the Waterfront Festival.
Oh wow, that is great.
Yeah, 3-day festival and right there on the waterfront, and yeah, it was great. Just really good stuff.
I mean, you play locally here at the Blues on the Park,
Yes,
right
um,
here at
we've played that probably every year since the band's inception. So that's been good. Unfortunately, we didn't get to this last year because um, Jesse called me the day before and he lost his voice. So it was I was scrambling all day Saturday trying to find a solution, but we just had to back out. But we got a good band to cover us. So,
you
but
have
yeah,
West End Celebration. That's a great
yes, yes, and
great
that is always a blast. That has got to be the most enjoyable, free event on the coast here. It is really good. It's really grown, and major hat off to Steve Agnini for bringing that to
Steve
all of us.
Agnini, the man. That is the man that has
Yeah,
made things so. I
yeah,
mean, it was the people before him were doing a good job, but he's continued on and he's dedicated to the West End Celebration. I talked to him the other day and he's working on it as we speak. He's working
yeah.
on it.
Hey, when one ends, the next one starts. It's a
That's
lot of
right.
work, but it's a labor of love for him. And Steve is such a good man. He's such a good-hearted and fair man, and he's been
What
a great friend all
he's
these years, and he's just
he's
done so
great.
much for the community. It's really,
Oh man,
yeah.
he's one of the best.
Oh yes, oh yes.
Now, Gil, you played on the same stage as John Lee Hooker. I mean, you were performed with them, or that?
Well, we played at the Catalyst, and we opened for Canned Heat, and John Lee Hooker was the headliner. And so, of course, they had done an album, Hooker and Heat, years and years ago, right? And our
Yeah,
singer at the time, Terrence Kelly, had brought his copy of the album to have them sign it and stuff. That was a great show, and that was a highlight as well. I mean,
yeah, and also Los Lobos.
oh yeah, we did a lot of shows with Los Lobos too. Um, our bass player on a couple of the CDs, and he's been in the band a couple times. A great friend of mine, Brian Shaw, was on the road with them for 4 years. He
Mm.
started out as a roadie with them, and then actually became their road manager. And he's still really tight with them. They call him all the time. He always talks with them and stuff. And so we've gotten to be um, very lucky in that we've had a number of gigs with them and have had some camaraderie with them, get to talk with them like, I mean, they're very down to earth people for one thing. And so that makes
Yeah,
it real easy. But to be able to be sitting there with them and just having great conversations is something else too. You feel all this soul and vibe and everything else. it's heartwarming in a way. It goes right to your heart and gives you some education in a way, you know.
Yeah, I
So
remember when Los Lobos played at the here at the West End Celebration. I think it was 5 years ago or something like that. That
mhm.
they came down and they did a special clinic for
Yeah,
free to all
yeah,
the young kids. Uh,
yeah,
uh, Guitars, not guns. They
right.
sat with all the kids and really, took care of them and listened to them, and so that really was a special, in my opinion, that what they did. And
They're
hats off to Los Lobos.
Yeah, they're just good people. I mean, really good people. They came up from the neighborhood too. You know, they know what it's about,
They know
and they
it's
have that history. You know, it's I, I and I don't. This may sound funny, but I'm almost envious of their position. You know, the way they can draw some from so many. Um, Influences and everything too. You know, they have all the Mexican background, they have the blues background.
they
You know,
do.
yeah, David Hidalgo's big in the country and everything too. So they pull all these things together and make this incredible mix of music, that can just go in every direction.
I
And yet
love
they're,
it.
they're also connected. There's the same five guys, for how long? I mean, that's tremendous. That's an enviable thing, to have that kind of camaraderie and just
I love them. I love them. Yeah,
yeah, so many great songs, man.
I like that when they play that Richie Valens song.
Yeah.
Come on, let's go, let's go. I love that one. That's my favorite.
Oh, good stuff, man. Good
So,
stuff.
Gil, before I let you go, give me a couple of your most memorable shows or experiences with red beans and rice over the
Oh, wow.
years. I mean, just one or two that
Do
you
you
really
know, some of the
sounds
ones
like
we
a
just
jazz festival.
yeah, well, the two that were just talking about, the Jazz Festival at 2003, being an invited guest to the Jazz Festival was, just basically a dream come true. I never would have thought of that. And to be invited to be at such a prestigious event and then to get a standing ovation, we're just a bunch of guys having fun.
Yeah,
But that was tremendous. And then again, the show with John Lee Hooker too. That was, I mean, here's this absolute legend, and we're right there on the same stage as him, and getting to open for him, and we did really well. We did a good show, and it was we've been very, very fortunate in that um, people have been very supportive of the band. And, of course, almost 30 years difference, from the beginning to now. And the band has changed a lot and evolved.
these
Um,
all.
we can't stay the same, nobody does, right? And music has changed, the times have changed, the things I write about have changed, the message is still coming from the same place, I hope.
Yeah,
To be positive and to be community oriented, in world community, not just our own community, but in terms of the world in general. We all should be brothers and sisters, and do everything we can to help each other,
yeah,
and come from the heart. Um, and the message of the music has changed, and we become more and more New Orleans influenced and stuff, but we still draw on a lot of different influences, because that's what I grew up with, hearing all these different influences of music. So I hope that it's coming together in a good way too,
coming
into
together in a good way, brother.
and
We love it, and we love you.
oh, well,
So,
thank you, Johnny. You're always such a sweetheart. You really are.
well,
You're,
Gil, I really appreciate you buzzing with cousin and coming on and sharing a little bit about yourself and the band. Almost 30 years, red beans and rice, and maybe another 30 coming up.
oh my God.
So
Let me
I'm
see,
gonna
that would make me how old?
let you go, and I want all the listeners out there to hang tight, and we're gonna play a clip from Red Beans and Rice. So, Gil, I'll let you go. I appreciate you for coming on. So
Johnny, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for everything that you do, my brother.
It's been great. It's great.
All right,
hope to see you soon and not on the
screen. I was wondering if I should wear a mask or not.
Yeah. Some people have. Okay, Gil, thank you so much. Okay, Gil Rubio, Red Beans and Rice. Thank you so much for coming on. Local Peninsula man for many years, giving back to the community. Red Beans and Rice, almost 30 years together playing music. So we thank them. We thank everybody for tuning in, and everybody out there. We have the channel on YouTube, so we appreciate you to go on YouTube, Buzzing with Cousin channel, and press that subscribe button. That way you know when another show is coming up. So let me play this clip, and we'll see you next week. And here we go.
Sweet baby, she loves me all the time. Sweet baby, she loves me all the time. She says I don't care what you do, as long as you are mine. I got a sweet, sweet baby, I love the style she wears. I got a sweet, sweet baby, I love the style she wears. She says you can get me up, but daddy, don't you take me nowhere. I'll fix your dinner, I'll fix your drinks. All you do is love me, then she got you away. Got a sweet, sweet baby, love me all the time. Just I don't care what you do, as long as you are mine. Help me out, fellas. I got a sweet, sweet baby, I got a sweet, sweet baby, I got a sweet, sweet baby, I got a sweet, sweet baby. Just I don't care what you do, as long as you are mine. I'll fix your drinks. All you do is love me, then she got you away. Got the sweet, sweet baby, love me all the time. She says I don't care what you do, as long as you are mine. I got a sweet, sweet baby, I got a sweet, sweet baby, I got a sweet, sweet baby, I got sweet, sweet baby. She's loving all the time. I got a sweet, sweet baby. Loving all the time. She said, I don't care what you do. I don't care what you do. I don't care what you do. As long as you are mine.